Coester Appraisal Group. Today we're going to talk about understanding value reconsiderations. This is actually the recorded version of the webinar. The live version was too long to upload to YouTube or any of the other sites, which was 38 minutes long. So this is kind of a condensed version that we're going to use specifically to upload to the web. So if I go through things rather quickly, it's just because we're working on a time frame of 15 minutes, which is the maximum allowable time for most web video services. Okay, so understanding value reconsiderations. Let's get right into it. Okay, questions we will answer during the webinar are: what are value reconsiderations? What is the best way to approach an AMC about a value reconsideration? What is the best way of approaching the appraiser? What are some resources to help with this process? Most of these resources will be available online. And then what are some last resort tactics if the value reconsideration doesn't work? Okay, so what are value reconsiderations? I think we should start with what they are not. It's really not to get the appraiser to hit the number. It's not to get the appraiser to change the value because the borrower or purchaser thinks it's worth more or even less. I mean, a lot of value reconsiderations have to do with purchases that they don't want to pay that much and they think it should be worth less, and they're providing, lower REO sales when it's new construction, things of that nature. It's not to change it because the realtor thinks it's worth more. And it's not done because the comps are ideal for the property. The reality of the situation is that there's a lot of properties, and especially in the rural areas, that are very, very challenging for the appraiser to find comparables as well as just, for anyone to do the appraisal. So it's not for that. It is to address legitimate concerns with the appraisal in which there is tangible evidence the appraisal is flawed and the property is being misrepresented. Now, that's not Fannie Mae's definition. That's not USPAP's definition. That's not Freddie Mac's definition or HUD's definition. That is my definition, and really no one has a definition for it. This is just kind of the best I've come up with. If there's legitimate concerns with the appraisal, that there's tangible evidence that the appraisal is flawed and the property is being misrepresented, then it needs to be changed. And that's what kind of a value reconsideration will help with. Concerns on the appraisal. So we run into a lot of concerns. Here are some examples. It could be the better comps are available to support a different value that are not in the report. Misrepresentation of the property. I didn't know the homeowner owned the waterfront lot next to the house. That happens a lot, believe it or not. I mean, the reality of the situation is the appraiser's only at the house for 30 to 40 minutes. Let's say an hour at maximum. So there is no way in 1 hour that they could know everything there is to know about the property. They're going to get a general idea of the amenities, general idea of the feel of the property and the value-added features, and that's pretty much it. It's the responsibility of the homeowner or the purchaser or the agent to help the appraiser with get the information that they need. I mean, I've seen situations where we're doing a loan on a property and the homeowner owns 2 lots. One's waterfront, one's not. The house is on the one that's not waterfront. The appraiser pulls a tax record, doesn't say anything about waterfront. Borrower didn't mention it during the inspection. They do the appraisal and it comes in, $200,000 less than they thought. And the reality is that, that could have been avoided if the borrower just told them that it was a waterfront property and that they owned the lot next to them. Now, we did get the appraisal updated, but that's just like one of those things that can become a perpetual problem if it's not addressed in the beginning. Overlooking key features such as acreage view updates. Sometimes, you just forget about it. Sometimes they don't make the proper adjustments or overlook certain things. Lack of appraiser competence is apparent in a report. That's something we run into every now and then where you have a complex property and the appraiser wants to do it or doesn't want to turn out a report but is not exactly sure how to approach it. Some examples could be like a penthouse suite in a condo or a historic home, things of that nature, waterfront properties. Over-conservative appraisal, we see that sometimes where the comps are, 180, 190, 180, and the value's 160. Lack of attention to detail in multiple areas. That is a legitimate concern. If you have an appraiser who, doesn't pay attention to the small details and it has multiple errors, that's the reason to relook at the appraisal. Okay. So you have an appraisal, you're not satisfied with it, you want to choose something, so what do? You got to approach the AMC. Now, not everyone uses an AMC, so if you don't use an AMC, you can just redo that with appraiser desk or whatever it may be. So if you don't use an AMC, that's your appraiser desk. Okay, so preparing a reconsideration. So you got to provide something to the AMC. So if you're going to approach your appraiser desk, if you're going to approach your AMC, you just can't say you want the value change. You have to actually provide some kind of tangible evidence. So the first thing you need to do is provide written concerns as to what needs to be addressed and redone in the appraisal. All right, supply additional information that supports your claim. Okay? Call the AMC and explain the concern. Verbal or email is good. I mean, everything's going to eventually have to be in some type of written email, letter format. But calling and explaining is also a good idea. We have a help desk here that will help you with certain situations, and submit the information to the AMC via their method. It's very important to go through their method. Reading, if they have a specific process or a specific way, understanding that and using that is very important. Okay, understanding your AMC's process. Each AMC has its own way of approaching value reconsiderations. Understanding your AMC's process is vital to the success of the value reconsideration. Different processes we have seen go directly to the appraiser right away with no help, meaning you send me what you think I should get in front of the appraiser. I'll make sure it doesn't say anything bad, and I'm sending it to them right away. Okay, other ones is having the information reviewed and then submitted to the appraiser. So you send me what you want me to go to the appraiser about. I'll review it, overlook it, make sure it's right, and then send it back to the appraiser. The other one is the AMC helps provide information. So not only will we look at it, review, but we're going to actually help you and see if we can make something happen. I mean, the reality of the situation is that you're our client. You're also the appraiser's client to a certain extent, and we want to make sure that, you know, we give everyone a fair opportunity and a fair chance to get the best product possible. Okay, what we do for value reconsiderations. What we do is a little different than some, but again, it's just giving you an idea of an internal process and the way it looks at some companies. Upon receipt, it gets sent to one of our review appraisers. We might go back to you and ask for additional information, but sometimes we'll just go right to the appraiser. A call gets placed with the appraiser, sending the situation, and then they both review the appraisal. So they're going to go over it, look at things. Usually what happens about 99% of the time, the appraiser's in the field, they're not at the office, and you know, they say, well, let me get back to the office and I'll take a look at it and get back to you later tomorrow. I mean, that's like 99.9% of the time. Upon receipt of the update, so we get something back to the appraiser, we'll review it, get back to you, you know, see exactly what we can do, what we can't do, what's realistic, what's not realistic, and then kind of conclude. What we don't want to do is extend these things several days, several weeks. So we just want to either cut the fat, either it's going to work or it's not, and call it a day. Okay, very important to remember. Everything must be facts and tangible based. So when you're submitting these things, you just can't say, okay, we want it to be worth more because we think it's worth more. It has to be, okay, here's why. Maybe the appraisal is a little conservative. Maybe they missed some comps. Maybe they missed some adjustments. Provide as much information about the reason and the rationale for change. It all may come down to comps. The reality is comps by far will be the situation where that'll support the change. Without comps, we're just kind of, you know, just talking about the adjustments, and then we're really just nickel and diming it. Always communicate the outcome needed, meaning if you need an additional $5,000 to make the deal work, you need to say that. You just can't say, you know, have the appraiser relook, have the appraiser relook. And then be patient and realistic about things. Generally speaking, they'll take about 24 to 48 hours. Some will take longer. If it's a weekend and it's a Thursday, you'll probably have it back on Monday. Approaching the appraiser. Okay, touchy issues. As everyone knows, with the regulatory environment, it gets a little touchy going back to the appraiser. The better appraisers are much more open to feedback and adjustments. However, if the appraisers aren't approached correctly, you can offend the appraiser and really get nowhere. It's always better to work through somebody like Coester Appraisal because if you will be able to provide them a fresh perspective from an appraiser's point of view, and then also when we go back to them, it'll be a much better idea of exactly what is needed, what's realistic. I mean, from an appraiser's perspective and from a loan officer or underwriter's perspective are two totally different things. Facts-based and reasonableness, there's a certain amount of reasonableness that's expected on all appraisals. No appraisal is exactly right, and because of that, the reasonableness and the value reconsideration is just something that we can really do. Getting the facts in front of the appraiser with a touch of reasonableness and rationale is the best win-win solution. Just say, look, I'm trying to be reasonable here. I understand it's not worth $300,000, but the borrower thinks this. Here's the additional costs. Is it worth $280? From $275 or from $270. Examples of what not to do. These are actually emails that we have received. So this is a good idea what not to do. Again, this is going to get you nowhere. So if something like this, all of these kind of situations, there's nothing we can't go back to the appraiser with this information. Here's a good examples of what to do. All of these are perfect examples of exactly what is tangible. We have tangible evidence to go back. We have supporting documentation. We have reasonableness. We have rationale. Online resources. The reality situation is they're going to have to provide some resources, free resources, as everyone knows, like the Zillows and the county tax records. Some fee resources which some people don't know about, collateral DNA, MLS, AVMs. We provide collateral DNA access free to our clients. So if you don't have that, you can email me and get that information. What if it doesn't work? So if it doesn't work, options for an unsuccessful rebuttal. Have another appraiser look at the report, order a desk review. Here's some options. Another appraiser looking at the report is probably the best option. The reality of the situation is if two appraisers agree on a value, you're probably got no chance of getting it changed. Back when FHA was requiring two appraisals, I know a lot of underwriters were just, saying, okay, well, two appraisers agree the value. Who am I to say that the value is different? I mean, the reality is if you have a full 1004 and a desk review done and they both come in at the same value, there's really not a huge, rebuttal that you can be taking place. Order a new appraisal. I know here at Coester we will pay for the appraisal if it's 10% or more differential. Okay, here's some information about Coester Appraisal, a nationwide appraisal management company. We're 100% guarantee on all valuation. We offer custom appraisal management. You can go to our website, coesterappraisals.com, which is listed on the bottom left, or some other reverse mortgage specialists, as well as our Value Safe appraisal program. And our next session will be Understanding Desktop Appraisals on November 2nd, 2010. And you can get our information via our website. And here is my contact information, as well as Crystal Witherspoon, who was on the call, who was actually in charge of our training with our clients. So thank you guys so much.